Hello, this is Erica Qualey, and today we're going to be making German window stars. You will need to have a glue stick and a pair of scissors, as well as 2 pieces of kite paper. Tracing paper or tissue paper can be used as a substitute. To make these stars, I'm going to be using a paper called Kite paper. This paper is very similar to tissue paper in that it's very thin and translucent, but it's much stiffer and a little bit more rigid, so it's quite a bit more durable. It's kind of a cross between tissue paper and origami paper. So I'm starting with 2 pieces of square paper. You can really use any size you want. You really just need to make sure that it's square. And I'm actually going to cut these down into, each piece is going to turn into 4 equal squares. So I'll have a total of 8 squares in the end. To make my 4 squares, I'm going to fold my paper in half. And I'm going to take a lot of care to make sure I line up my corners here and make the best fold that I can. After I fold it that way, I'm going to open it up and I'm going to turn it and I'm going to fold it the other way. And this ensures that I have my paper divided into 4 equal sections. So now that I have these fold lines on here, I'm going to go ahead and just grab my scissors and I'm going to cut this paper up into 4 equal pieces. And then I'm going to repeat this step again on my second piece of paper here until I have 8 pieces of square paper. I've now finished cutting my paper up and I have 8 equal pieces of paper that are perfectly square. And I'm going to start my fold. So I'm just going to start with 1 piece of paper and do one at a time. And I'm going to turn this paper so it looks like a diamond. So my points are facing me. And I'm going to fold this paper in half the long way on the diagonal. So I'm turning it into a triangle. And again, it's really important to try your best to line your points up and to get your fold as perfect as possible. If you are a little bit off, it's still going to be absolutely beautiful. So don't get too upset. Just do the best you can. This paper is really thin and a little bit slippery. So I folded it into a triangle, and now I'm going to open it back up and flatten it out. And then I'm going to work from one side, and I'm going to fold this point in so that this top edge between this point and that point is going to line up with this center line that I just created. So I'm going to fold it right over and I'm going to line it right up with that center line all the way up to the top and make a nice good crease there. So push it right down with your finger. These creases, the sharper and crisper you get these folds, the nicer your star will lay in the end. I'm going to repeat that same step on the other side. And push that right down and get a nice crisp fold again. And then I'm going to take this little triangle on the end and I'm going to fold it up. So I'm trying to make a fold that makes a crease right along the edge of where this paper ends that I just folded over. So I'm going to lift it up here, and the important part of this step is just to make sure that your center line on this point lines up with the center line here. So you want to kind of keep that center line going straight up through the center the whole time. And then once you get that lined up the best you can, give yourself a nice crisp crease there, and then you're going to unfold all of those steps and you have a pattern in your paper that looks like this. Once you've completed that step, we're going to start making our folds for our actual point of the star. So we are going to fold over again this point, but instead of folding it over all the way to the center, this time we're going to be taking our point and we're going to fold it so this side right here lines up with this line that we created with our last fold. So it's going to look like this. And we're going to do that on both sides. So just so you can see, I just folded that corner over so that my edge lines up with this line, this diagonal line right here. And once you've created that on both sides, then you can refold that line that we had right over and go ahead and recrease those folds and make sure they're all down nice and flat. And then for our last step for folding this point, we are going to take this point that we have, these 2 points, and we're going to fold them in so it meets the center. They're going to meet each other in the center. So this line that we have right here that we folded when we folded this flap over, we are going to take this point and we're going to line that up the best we can with that line. So try to line those lines up and bring so the point is meeting along that center line. And we're going to do it on both sides. There we go, and there's our first point. So each of these pieces of paper, we're going to do the same fold process for every single one, and each one will make up 1 point of each star. So I want to go ahead now and fold the rest of my pieces. I have all of my 8 pieces completely folded now, and the next step I need my glue stick. And I'm going to use a piece of scrap paper to just keep my glue from staying off my table. And I will just need 1 point to start with. Put on my scrap piece of paper here. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to work on the side with all the folds. We have one smooth side and then one side that's folded. And how these stars work is that when you're making them and you have them down, they kind of just look flat and plain, but when you put them in the window, light comes through all these layers of paper and creates this beautiful design. So I'd like to try to make this as flat as possible so it will lay nice against my window. So what I'm going to do is kind of open these flaps up a little bit, and I'm going to just put a little dab of glue in there and go ahead and lay these down. Just glue those little flaps down. And then I'm going to actually do that on 2 pieces. Don't need just a dab of glue in the center. You don't have to put a ton of glue on, just to hold those down enough that it makes them nice and flat. And then my next step I'm going to do is I'm going to start assembling my star. And all you need to do is put glue on 1/2 of the bottom. So this is the center of our star, and then this long pointier side is going to be the outside points of our star. So I'm going to glue these stars together, or these points together, so that they line up. The points will line up, and then this edge will line up with the center fold I have on this next piece. So when I put my glue down, I am just putting it just on 1/2 of it. Just going to put glue down on 1/2 of it and go ahead and put it right off the edge. So I basically put glue from the center line over on just the bottom area, and then I'm going to make sure I have my folded sides facing up on all of these. So I have my smooth side down, folded side up, and I'm going to do my best to keep that point aligned with that other point, and I'm overlapping them so that the edge of this point right here, this edge, lines up with the center line of my point that I have below. So I'm just going to stack them up like that and sort of push them together so I have a nice good glue seal there. And then my next step will be to grab my next point. Pull those points down. So again, I'm just going to keep repeating. I'm going to put glue on this side, just 1/2 of it. Line those points up the best you can, and that edge, there we go. Go ahead and apply glue to the next. And I'm just working my way all the way around the circle here. Line that edge and points up. I didn't glue this one down yet, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. We have it. This last piece is the trickier piece. And what you're going to do is you're going to just fold back this side, apply some glue here, and you're going to slip this piece in just the same as you have been. Line that center point up, line up the middle line, go ahead and push down, get a nice glued seal. I'm going to go ahead and stick these flaps down like so. And then I'm going to glue this last side down. That's going to get glued down right here. So it kind of looks like you're done, but actually you're not quite done. You have to fit this last piece in. So don't forget to make sure you get all 8 pieces in, because in the end it does look a little bit deceiving. And here's our star.